This conversation is taking place at the Grand Opera House.
We're talking today with Thayer DuPont, who's president of the Longwood Foundation. Welcome, Thayer.
Thank you, John.
You're fairly new to this role. Tell us what the Longwood Foundation does and how it operates.
Well, the Longwood Foundation was founded 75 years ago by Pierre DuPont, who was one of the three DuPont cousins who remade the DuPont company around the turn of the 20th century. And his interests were, first of all, horticulture, and second of all, pretty much anything to do with Delaware. So he left assets both for the benefit of the gardens and to continue his philanthropic activities into the future indefinitely. The Gardens has its own assets, its own board, its own structure. The foundation focuses on the philanthropic work and supports anything and everything that has a Delaware connection for the benefit of the people of Delaware, animals, the environment. Our largest category of giving has historically been education. Of late, it's unfortunately been human services, given where the economy has taken us, but that's kind of rough parameters of what we give to.
Another new role that you've taken on is joining the board and now becoming chair of the Delaware Association of Nonprofit Agencies. Full disclosure, I'm also on that board. Why did you get involved with Dana at this particular time?
Well, I think one of the observations I had in having conversations with nonprofits about a grant, they came to Longwood to get money. They needed the money. In many cases, they needed operational help and they needed more sophisticated ways to run their organization just as much as they needed the money. At Longwood, we maintain a very lean staff. There are only 4 of us operating the foundation. And while we could build a staff of 5 more who could provide that operational advice, it would be an awkward place for a nonprofit to have to accept every word that Longwood said because they're the funder and therefore you ought to do exactly what they say, and it may not be the right advice. And as we kind of looked around, there's this perfect vessel in Dana, the Delaware Association of Nonprofits, to be helping from an operational perspective. Of course, it's existed, I think, for more than 20 years, and it has already was providing very good advocacy for nonprofits in Dover. It already provides educational programs to help people better lead their organizations, nonprofits provide better leadership, better financial management, better grant, better fundraising mechanisms. And I know that there was a small nucleus of the prior board of Dana that said, well, we're growing. We've got better membership, higher membership numbers than we've had in the past couple of years. And we see a world where we can do this better. So while I'm contemplating it from Longwood's perspective, a number of the prior board members in Dana were saying, let's go and look around the country, which is a great thing for any nonprofit to do here in the state. There's 50 other states and lots of other ways to do things that we're doing here in Delaware. And so Dana's board formed a subcommittee that went out and identified best practices from peer organizations around the country. One of those was to remake the board, which had historically been only nonprofit leaders, and have it be a third nonprofit leaders, a third for-profit leaders, and a third grant makers. So I fit the third category and thus ended up on the board. But that was just one piece of the change in Dana. I think we can bring, in addition to the advocacy, in addition to the education, we can bring a research dimension about nonprofits that will feed the advocacy and better focus Dana's efforts going forward, better focus the whole nonprofit community. And I guess the final thing we can add is operational advice to help them be more effective with the money they have. Because I think we're in an environment where the state government has less funds, the federal government has less funds, foundations have less funds, companies have less funds. The answer is we can advocate all we want. There's not more money. So what can we do better with the existing money? And I think there is meaningful opportunity there that we have together as a community to figure out how to tackle.
Thanks, Thayer.
Thank you, John.
You're connected with Content Delaware.